fingers will work here. Welcome into another episode of Beyond the Forecast. Kevin, I feel like we always have some laughs here. And it's starting right off the bat once again this week.
I don't know. I was going to say last week it wasn't
well,
even,
you caught me off guard.
You hadn't even spoken yet.
You caught me off guard. So, but I digress. Anything fun this past weekend? You didn't work half the weekend.
Yes. So obviously, like last week, I was Monday through Friday because Matt was away. So I had a couple weekend nights off, which is rare for yours truly. So certainly, made the most of them. It was a good time. But what about you?
I went to the Petapalooza.
Heard that was a very
in
big
Ballston
success.
Spa. Yeah, I've got my phone here because we just got word of how much we raised for Lisa Cap's legacy.
I thought I saw $5,100.
$5,091 for Lisa Cap's
close.
legacy. So that's with merchandise. That's with just general donations. It was a really good turnout. So,
Yeah.
And I know Steve Caparizzo is very grateful. The weather was great, minus the wind. It was very windy.
Yeah.
It
Very
was
windy last week with that system.
It was one of those days where we were setting up, and I go, somebody's going to get hurt today because things were flying around. Like, that's how strong
Did
the
that
wind
happen?
was. Thankfully, no. To my knowledge, no. I don't know if somebody did, but I know the folks at Curtis Lumber were running around and taking more cinder blocks out to make sure that the tents were firmly secured because that wind was just not nice. It stayed dry, though, so that was a plus.
Tell you what, that's Steve Cap. He's a very busy man.
Oh, my gosh, he's so busy.
Yeah.
He's so busy.
You're like, are you sure you're retired, man?
You know,
sure?
I know he says though now, like keeping busy is good for him.
Yes.
With everything. So that's always good. It's good to see him keep going instead of just sitting around, so we can all aspire to be doing that at his age. Not that he's old. I don't mean to say that. I'd tell him he's old. But anyways, I digress. Let's talk about the weather. This week on Beyond the Forecast, Kevin, we're going to talk about last week's severe weather. Last Thursday, June 18th, was a pretty active day across the region.
Correct.
I've got a little write-up here, so we'll kind of talk about that. Debunking AI or fake weather images. I don't want to give too much away, but there was one going around last week. We will talk about that. We're going to revisit the toilet effect that Kevin was talking about last
Thank
week.
you. Thank you.
The Coriolis effect. We put some graphics together for that, and we've got some information here as well. And then a brief look ahead to July. We'll kind of take a deeper dive next week on what a typical July will bring. I basically just put in the Climate Prediction Center what they're expecting. So here's a video, Kevin, from last week. This is from Ed Kostick in Schenectady. Now, I know it's funny. Wind videos, and I think you would agree with me, videos never do the wind justice. It never looks that windy.
I don't know. I'm
But
looking
you
at the
can see
trees.
the rain.
The sheets.
It's just sheets of rain being driven down.
That's nasty weather.
Very nasty. Very, very nasty. So that was one from Schenectady. Some tree damage in Hudson Falls. That was another area that was hit
It got
harder.
Harder.
Sonia Scally for this one. Obviously, you've got the road crews out there. There was actually a very large tree down in a neighborhood in Albany, too, in the evening. So
Might have been a few, actually.
I think there were a few. I just remember the one that we were showing on the news.
we
There was
had,
very, very big one. This is when we were on air at noon.
Yep.
This was a tornado-warned storm. This is courtesy of the New York State Mesonet. Kevin, thank you for snapping this one. Near Sherburne, we're actually looking north of Sherburne, I believe, in Shenango County. And you can see the lowering of the clouds there.
Yeah.
And I should have drawn on this, but there's almost... I'm assuming it's a rain shaft because I don't think we had any confirmed tornadoes, but it does look
not
like...
Not at this point in the storm, but
yes.
obviously towards
prior,
Portland.
prior to this. But yeah, I mean, it was a nasty storm. The wind damage nonetheless.
Turbulent weather day, as advertised.
This was from Sonia Rissmeyer in downtown Albany.
Real quick, like even without the storms, it was very windy.
Very windy, yeah.
I was at Cafe Madison right next to the station at like 11 in the morning, and like, they got some outdoor setups, and the wind was just kind of causing a ruckus.
I mean, I think I was going to say we were gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour outside of any thunderstorms. And the storms that did move through were gusting close to 60 miles an hour. These storms were racing.
They were going fast.
To the east at 55 to 60 miles per hour. So that alone is going to produce the wind, you know?
It's funny. I didn't even realize this picture was from this past week.
Yep.
I used it as the background on some. I used it for something. I want to say on Monday when I was doing forecast for. Maybe it was Sunday. Either way, I used it just as a background for Monday when it was all rainy and cloudy and not nice out. But at least Monday's system didn't have wind this past Monday. But I can't believe that was a recent picture. Like,
this was.
I grabbed it thinking, oh, that's a good picture of it looking like ominous over Albany.
Sonia, very good friend of ours.
Yeah.
She's a weather watcher for Stanford, or not Stanford. Anyway, she's a weather watcher. I just can't think of where because she works in Albany all the time, so she doesn't send in reports a lot.
Is she north and west?
She's to the west, yeah. I just can't think of. I've got it on my sheet in the other room. But
Crazy,
anyways,
Rob. You should know them all by heart.
she doesn't send in very often because she's so busy. She's always working at Albany, like I say. So this was a view that she had Thursday afternoon as those storms moved on through. So even though it wasn't super bad in Albany, it still looked pretty ominous.
Definitely.
And then this was from Gordy Clark looking towards a farm in White Creek. I believe he said he was looking towards Scaticoke in this direction. So there's the picture up full. Sky's very, very dark. And that storm led to damage like this.
Yeah, Washington County, I mean, that storm looked very impressive.
Yes.
It ended up being severe wind, of course. So it was rotating. But
there was rotation.
Pretty broad rotation. But it was this same storm that ended up racing into central Vermont.
And 2 tornadoes.
Yep. So this was like the infancy stage of that.
Yes.
Obviously, it still caused straight line wind damage.
That might be the last of those pictures. All right. So I do just want to talk about the storms because obviously by 10 a.m. there was a tornado watch issued across the majority of the News 10 viewing area. There was enough spin in the atmosphere for these storms to spin when they moved into the area. And that's why they issued the tornado watch. Now, Kevin and I, obviously, we kind of talked beforehand. We weren't sure if they were going to issue a severe thunderstorm watch with tornadoes possible or the tornado watch. In hindsight, they probably would have been better off doing the severe thunderstorm.
Well,
but
for us, I mean,
exactly.
The thing is, it went from central New York to our east.
Yes,
and
right through the Hudson Valley. And that's the funny thing is we had the most spin here. So it's odd to me that we didn't get any tornado warnings or tornadoes. Thankfully, I'm thankful we didn't.
Yes.
But it's just odd to me that we didn't. There were 2 confirmed tornadoes in central New York. I believe
one had to be Cortland.
It was around Cortland, Groton area. I believe EF0, I think both of them were. And then there were 2 in central Vermont, and I'm not sure the classification on those, but widespread wind damage nonetheless. So even though we didn't have tornadoes locally, widespread wind damage across the area, and at one point we had over 20,000 folks without power. So it was a very, very active day, regardless of not getting any tornadoes, which I think a lot of folks would say that was a good thing. I am one of those folks.
I hope.
Now, Kevin, we need to talk about this because this was going around
ridiculous
during the afternoon. Now, I do want to preface this with this is not real. And I know that, and we know that, because when the picture was sent to us in the afternoon, there was nothing going on in Clifton Park.
It was sunny.
They were claiming that this was from Clifton Park at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when there was nothing going on.
Yeah,
but the funny thing is, and I was reading a couple comments on our posts last night, people were saying, it's funny, the same picture was going around in several areas.
Yep.
And everybody was constantly saying, my good friend or my uncle's best friend from 3 years ago or this. It was never them. It was somebody else that took this picture.
Yeah.
That is a red flag. I do just want to put that out there. That is always a red flag. Not that you can't trust people. But pictures like this, there's no landmark.
That could be a highway in Texas.
Exactly.
That could be a highway in Florida.
Exactly.
Although there'd probably be more palm trees if it was Florida.
Now, I will say, I mean, obviously, it's getting very tough to determine what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
But in regards to this photo, we can tell you with 100% certainty.
Oh my gosh, it was sunny.
that it's fake.
And-
because also they were saying, okay, it's Clifton Park, and then they're like, oh wait, no, this was seen in Saratoga. Oh no,
Malta.
this was seen in Malta. No, this was seen. So where was it? It wasn't here.
It actually
because
went
it never
up,
happened.
It actually went straight south to north from Clifton Park up I-87 to Saratoga.
It's funny, the same tornado was just in 6 different
even though the storms
towns.
moved west to east.
Now, I do want to say another tip-off was, again, as I said, as far as from Saratoga Springs, and something else that I noticed, another meteorologist in another part of New York State shared something very similar. And this is somebody else saying as far as over my house in Whitesboro. Now, this is central New York, out near Utica. The funny thing, I should have put both of these pictures side by side because, Kevin, I think this is the same exact
tornado
or funnel or whatever it ends up
Yeah.
being with a different foreground. And the reason I say that is because I'm looking at the shape of it. I'm looking at the clouds around it.
Yeah.
It's literally the same photo, just behind something else.
The craziest comment that I saw, and I'm not going to name names, but was accusing our news station of like covering up a tornado. I'm like, we would be all over a tornado if it
The
happened.
reason, and again, I mean, and that's just the thing. People are saying, well, just because the news didn't say it happened doesn't mean it didn't happen. It didn't happen because at the time that people were saying that this happened, there was sunshine. There was no it wasn't even rain in the area.
And obviously, Clifton Park ended up getting hit by
Yes.
a pretty nasty storm,
Yes.
like maybe 3 o'clock. All the radar scans at that time, straight line wind.
No
Intense straight line
no
wind,
rotation.
but absolutely not even a hint
Exactly.
of spin at that point.
And I think there was another thing that you got to be careful with social media because a lot of times, for whatever reason, the algorithm likes to bring up old posts. People were claiming that there was a funnel cloud posted on Steve Caparizzo's Facebook page up near Clifton Park, exit 8 or something like that. That was from 2023. So you have to just be mindful of the date that you're looking at, be mindful of, and if you're ever in question, email a meteorologist, email somebody that you trust and say, hey, I saw this picture, it was around this time, is it possible that this was real? And we'll tell you, we'll look at it. We'll look at the radar scans to see if there was rotation because sometimes they are missed. I'm not saying somebody was bringing up an argument that, well, I told my friends that, there wasn't a tornado warning there at the time. Unfortunately, sometimes there aren't tornado warnings.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of how it is until it's seen, and then they'll issue a warning or something. A lot of times they do go missed, and there's severe thunderstorm with tornado possible. That's where we're at with technology right now. Another one was also you talk because I'm trying to think of one of the other comments.
If somebody was really trying to create a ruckus, all they had to do was wait until that storm fired up over Washington County.
Yes.
And they could have posted that and said it was in Washington County, and we would have had a way harder time debunking it. But whoever did this, they did Clifton Park when it was mostly sunny.
Before we even did any cut-ins. There was no cut-ins yet.
Yeah.
Because there was no severe weather yet.
No, there was absolutely, it was so... it was windy, but it was so tranquil at that point in the day. And they said it was an hour ago. There's nothing there.
This scares people. People do have storm anxiety.
Yeah.
And when you see something like this, I can understand why people do get up into a panic. I don't agree with it, obviously. You just have to be very, very mindful.
When I searched Clifton Park tornado, because there's a lot of Facebook results for it, I searched it on Twitter, X. We all know what app it is. I searched it on X. There's 0 results found because it was a Facebook phenomenon.
Yes. For whatever reason.
Facebook star.
Yep.
So it very weird. And we posted. We each made posts saying this wasn't real. We had people saying that they swore that it was,
and that their best friend from 6 years ago that lived wherever.
I actually swear on my life it's fake.
Yeah. It just.
It got tiring because we got the same picture 20 times in 4 different areas. We kept saying it. There was absolutely no support for anything like it. And Here we are explaining it again.
Most of the people that watch us, Kevin,
Yes,
do trust us, and they do understand we're not going to lead them wrong. People, for whatever reason, they have mistrust, and they think that we are out to hide things. Not going to get into it right now, but the whole contrail people. It's just another...
was, some cirrus clouds over the region Tuesday. We got a couple
So
messages.
we might talk about that next week. Maybe that's a topic that we're going to talk about in a couple weeks, because that's starting to get under my skin too. It's just these conspiracy theories that science can back that they're not true, but yet people still will tell you that you're lying to them until they're blue in the face.
Dang, people that believe that don't even listen to the explanation.
Yes.
They just wait for you to stop talking and say, nope.
Exactly. Well, with that, Kevin, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Coriolis effect and what that effect has on Earth, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about July as well. So stay with us. And welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. So, Kevin, last week we kind of got on the topic of the Coriolis effect.
A little tangent.
So
Turn into a topic.
We decided to make it a topic, and we want to just kind of explain it to you folks so you know what we're talking about. The Coriolis effect is the apparent deflection of moving objects caused by Earth's rotation, making paths curve to the right in the northern hemisphere and curve to the left in the southern hemisphere. So kind of what that looks like is this. So I know you probably can't read it very well. You see the equator. To the north of that, the line going across is the Tropic of Cancer. And then to the south of that, it's the Tropic of Capricorn. Very, very small. I couldn't make it any bigger. I apologize.
Can I be honest with you? That sounds like something I'd put on my steak. No, it's a peppercorn. I'm just kidding.
Peppercorn. That's funny. North of the Tropic of Cancer, we have what we call westerlies. So that's why our prevailing winds coming out of the west, and our storm tracks typically are from west to east. North of that, you can kind of see that little bit of a yellow line. That's the polar easterlies, and it's the same thing in the South Pole. That's usually north of us. Then you've got the trade winds down near the equator. Usually they're drifting from east to west, and that's why you'll see those storms come off of the coast of Africa. They're coming from east to west, and usually once they pass the Tropic of Cancer, they start to curve to the right. And that's that deflection. So you'll never see something. They are moving east to west or west to east, but because of Earth's spin, it changes things a little bit.
This is what makes a storm like Sandy so astounding.
Yes.
Because, the natural tendency
is to curve back out.
That storm just pretty much ignored it.
Well, some of it, though, has to do with the jet stream as well, too. So obviously,
sure.
There's other things that affect here, in play here other than just this. I do just want to read this really quick. The Coriolis, if I could speak, effect occurs because Earth rotates on its axis. That's what we were just talking about, causing different points on the planet to move at different speeds depending on their latitude. Points near the equator travel faster than points near the poles due to the larger circumference of the Earth at lower latitudes. When an object moves over long distances, this difference in rotational speed causes its path to appear curved relative to the Earth's surface, even though it is moving in a straight line in an inertial frame of reference. This effect is most noticeable for large-scale motions, such as air currents, ocean currents, and long-range projectiles, and is negligible for short distances or slow-moving objects like toilets. Anyways,
Thank you.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
All right, so Kevin, you put this together.
Yes, I even drew the isobars, those lines.
This is one of those things that obviously weather systems are impacted by this. This causes cyclones and hurricanes to rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Without it, winds would flow directly from high pressure to low pressure. So take it away.
Yeah. So this
Let me know when you want me to
this
advance.
is a setup that we're going to probably have by early Saturday, I would think. I mean, not exactly, but just, high pressure moving in behind low pressure. It happens all the time. So as you mentioned, Robin, you can go ahead and click.
Yep.
High winds typically, we say they flow from high to low. And ultimately that'll pop up. And, that's like the natural tendency of winds. But then you mentioned deflection to the right via the Coriolis force, or the Coriolis effect. In this case, that would kind of try to drag it towards the south. And what that does is the true wind, which will pop up here in orange, kind of curves. And this is, Rob mentioned it has to be over a much larger distance. We're not talking, the wind, this can happen from time to time, but we're not talking about the wind in Amsterdam being out of the west, the wind in Albany being out of the northwest, and then the wind in Berkshire County being from the north.
Now, sometimes that happens, but that's got to be...
That's not because of the Coriolis force.
Exactly.
But I think it's very interesting that, high pressure... I like our graphics almost insinuate the Coriolis force to an extent where there's a curvature here.
Yep.
And that's why, high pressure could be over Michigan. We're typically getting northwest flow here, even with a low near Maine. Now, if the low was, northern Maine or a little farther north from there, it would probably be more due westerly, I would
Probably,
suspect.
because there's still the curvature there, but also the tendency for that wind to go inwards towards low pressure. So, again, there's a lot of forces at play.
Yes.
That's kind of what comes down with that.
That's also why, the winds don't exactly always turn westerly behind a system. You'll get that northwest flow.
And sometimes you do have cross isobar flow. So you will have, especially in the wintertime, if you have a big high to the north, storm system to the south, you will have a due north wind across the isobars. So it's all, what is the word? Case by case basis. We'll put it that way. But this is the general rule of thumb.
There's your Coriolis force, and as Rob mentioned, no impacts to toilets.
When it comes to ocean currents, I do just want to make mention of this because obviously those are very large scale. They are deflected, contributing to the formation of gyres. I don't know how that's pronounced.
Tapping out, man.
One of them. And influencing global climate patterns. Think of the big ocean currents in the Atlantic that takes warmer waters from the Gulf up to,
Farther north.
The North Atlantic.
Northern latitudes.
The Coriolis effect is a pseudo force, meaning it's not really a force, it's not a real felt force, but it is an apparent one observed in a rotating reference frame. So if we weren't rotating, we wouldn't have this force.
Right.
Its magnitude depends on the speed of the moving object and the latitude. So the latitude, the further north or south you are, it's going to be different, the strength of it. It is zero, though, at the equator, and it is the strongest near the poles. So that's why near the equator you will typically see things move
right along
the equator.
Yeah.
Now, you don't really see storms forming at the equator. It's usually just north or just south of the equator. That's a whole other discussion, but that's an interesting discussion. But right now we're not going to get into that.
Fair enough.
Because I will confuse myself, and I will probably confuse you folks at home as well. All right. Talking about July.
They must be relying on a second half of July to be much cooler than the start.
It's got to be. It's got to be. Because right now, or they're at least looking at intrusions of cooler air.
Sure.
Because obviously that big dip in the middle of the country, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, that indicates that a near average temperature-wise, but also...
With how they're going to start.
Exactly.
They're going to be hotter than us.
They will likely be sweltering.
Yeah.
Temperatures there to start the month could be making a run towards the hundreds.
Yeah.
Based on some of the data I'm seeing, that's where the heat dome essentially is going to be setting up. We're on the northern periphery of it. They are right underneath it. So it is going to be very, very hot there. It's going to be very hot here too. And as we lead up to 4th of July, it looks like that week is looking pretty hot.
Summery.
Most days near 90, high humidity, daily shower and thunder shower chances. So very summer-like pattern. Unfortunate for the folks that are trying to plan for 4th of July celebrations, but
Yeah.
It happens. It's summertime.
I mean, it wouldn't lead me to think a washout's on the table with the pattern, but you could get absolutely soaked for 20, 30 minutes each afternoon.
Or even a couple hours in the morning, depending on the timing of... Because what's happening is where you see that near average, that's where the big ridge is going to be setting up next week.
It almost is like flipped of what this map is. It's incredible. Because the west is going to start cold.
I know. But they must be thinking that it's going to be...
Just flip completely.
Because essentially, which El Nino, remember what we said, big ridge out west is the typical,
so that's the way they're leaning.
But this is showing where we've got the big ridge. Storms are going to be riding up and over that. So I am worried about ridge riders, basically. Ring of Fire.
MCS season.
Yes, for the start of July. Not to say that that's going to continue. And they must not think that way either because they have a near average look for precip, which for the month in Albany, we averaged 4.55 inches of rain.
Wet month.
And then there's just pockets of above average. Most of the country is near average or below. That's remarkable for a month outlook.
The Gulf Coast is impressive.
They must be thinking no tropical.
Or very little.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All it takes is one, though.
Oh, I agree. And then you've got the monsoonal rains out west. All right. That's the end of our show. It went quick. I'm surprised. Next week, Kevin, we'll talk about July. We'll talk about what a typical July will bring us.
June, too.
Yes. Yes. We will have a wrap of June and a look towards July. And, of course, 4th of July weather history, 250th birthday of America. So we will be talking about the hottest, the coldest, the wettest, the snowiest. No, we never had snow on 4th of July.
You stole it out of my mouth.
But we will have everything you ever wanted to know weather-wise relating to the 4th of July next week. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Weather looks good. I'll be up at the lake. Kevin, hopefully you enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you back here next week. Have a great weekend.